Okay, hello there ladies and gentlemen, and if you've guessed by the title of this video, there's a very good reason why this is on screen. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, might be the very first time in the history of me doing YouTube where we are ever going to look at something like this. Now, for those who don't know Chris nearly in enough detail as some people unfortunately do know, is that during like part 35 of Christianic Comprehensive History, which I will be doing in maybe an hour or so, there was one part of that video people told me explicitly to warn about, and that is because what happened was that Jackie sent Chris a request for a video called Cakefarts, and Cakefarts is literally, as the title suggests, somebody farts and then sits on a cake. I personally cannot think of any greater waste of a perfectly good cake than that. So apparently, because Chris claiming to still be retarded, even though he doesn't do anything about his intelligence, he decided to go through with this. He made a friggin' video of himself sitting. I think it was something that he had to like write something on his arse cheeks as well. I've no idea if that's true or not, but unfortunately we're gonna find out for ourselves. You know what? To be honest, everything else that's gone on with Chris, to be honest, it doesn't shock me. It actually does not. It does not surprise me. It does not shock me that he would do this, but let's just get this over with. There's no real link to a video because obviously it's not appropriate whatsoever for YouTube, and it starts off. So I'm basically gonna have to like do my best to describe as much of this video as I can. So it starts with Chris looking down very hideously at a camera. The entire room looks friggin' like it was splashed in yellow. It's probably the color of my own urine, to be honest. And what's he gonna do? It's a 2-minute long video, which is about 2 minutes longer than it needed to be. So let's just see. If the audio's working, then that's something.
You know what I like the most? Cakefarts.
And he's using the camera that he continually beat up. And he says that he likes farts the most. So where that puts Sonichu or Rosechew or Jackie, I'll leave up to your imagination. Right, so he adjusts the camera and there's a cake, and it looks like I think there's like a slice already cut out of it, and he's now like digging his middle finger into the cake and just sticking it in his mouth for the camera.
Let's get this done.
Right. Okay, first off, it shows like Chris just trying to like bend over an angle so that you could see the writing on his butt cheek, and he didn't so much misspell the word, I think, awesome on one of his cheeks because, well, he had to like write. I don't. Well, okay, you know, it's pretty hard to like write when you can't see what it is you're trying to do. He's trying to shift his camera. His tiny as hell testicles are just dangling what seem like in midair because I can't even see where they're meant to be attached to. And he's got sauce written on the other one. Great.
Dance, dance, dance. Make me do great dance. Do what you do. Take my monkey, give me this.
So whatever the hell that dance was, in which you know what? It's not just the fact that his penis is friggin' is not only bent. You can see where it's bent, even with the terrible lighting. But it's small, but it looks like it must be even more. You see, that's what like sticking your penis in the snow for 20 whole minutes is going to do to your penis. It's going to cause it to shrivel. It's going to cause it to... Oh god, and he's going to try and Ugh.
Let's do this.
Let's do this, he says, and he just sits on the cake. I'm gonna go on a limb in here and say that barely sounded like a fart. That sounded more like Chris, like, blowing a raspberry than a fart, but I'm not gonna stop to ask him. I should be asking myself some very serious questions long before I decided to do this, but there you are.
What the hell am I doing here?
Chris even admitted to himself that he has absolutely no idea what he's doing. Or why the hell he's doing it. Because somebody on the internet asked him to, that's why. In return for sex. Again, it doesn't take a genius to work out exactly why Chris would do this at all, because I'll get to that in a second. Just know there's a rant coming.
What the hell am I doing? I paid $90 for this cake. That's a lot of yen. Hawaii! Bye, Japan.
By Japan, he says. Watch again? No, absolutely not. I am absolutely not going. If the comments on exactly what I think they're going to be, I'm going to be very disappointed. Right, Chris Chan Love Day, aka Body B Day, like he got or something. Right, okay, I'm going to assume that has to be a troll. That's in. So believe it or not, that's technically it, ladies and gentlemen. It's right. Let's start with some very, very simple things about life, ladies and gentlemen, because I feel like that's where we have to start with this whole video. First thing I want to stress, not emphasize, stress, is that, believe it or not, you don't have to do what anybody tells you to do over the internet. Nobody has to tell you to buy this, fill out credit card. No one can technically make you do anything. If it's something that actually has to be changed, like a new phone number, a new home address, a new credit or debit card, or a new email address, some of those things have to be changed. Basically, just so that everybody, for the people that need to know everything, it will be up to speed and there won't be too much problems to worry about. That's sort of why that's why certain things are kind of like necessary to share to the public, or maybe even businesses you're doing business with. There are some very important things you have to comply with and give out to the necessary people. It seems very much like small potatoes, but considering what we just saw, and I'm going to be getting to that in a couple moments. The next thing I want to point out is that there's horrible thing we have in the world called revenge porn, where it is absolutely it's about as dirty and as lucrative as it could possibly sound. AKA, you have footage of somebody doing a porn or a sex act in any which way, and then they use it to blackmail against somebody to get goodness knows what the hell they want out of it. It could be extracting for thousands and thousands of dollars or pounds. It could be for goodness knows what else. A car, food, a house. Maybe you want to use the proof you have and then continue to have sex with this one person, literally filming everything and using all of this as more and more evidence to stockpile on for goodness knows what, because the stakes would obviously be raised somewhat, because now that there's more than one film or something out there of somebody basically recording sex without somebody's permission. So you have all that going on. However, Chris's Cakefarts video is not revenge porn. Chris's Cakefarts video was meant for Jackie only, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's just discuss very, very briefly, more or less, about why Chris's Cakefarts video is not revenge porn. One, because people that know that it exists know that it's out there, and it's not going to be taken down anytime soon. It's out there now. It's as simple as that. Revenge porn usually works when nobody knows about it and somebody uses it as to threaten people into complying to their demands. Basically, it's kept tightly under wraps as much as the other person wants to keep it, and have it destroyed, basically. Why Chris, out of all these sweethearts he's had online, did he suddenly think that filming all of this stuff, and guys, I've heard that there are other videos he's made as well for Jackie that I'm going to be discussing in part 35 as well. Some of them of not exactly a very discreet manner. Some of them are, and we'll talk about those. But why did at any point Chris, because he did mention this like a few videos ago, did he stop to ask, wait a minute, why have I got to make all of these videos for one person that I've never seen or heard of in my life? Why is she so important that I have to prove myself by making a video of where I dance like a prostitute in a mall changing room, or fart and then sit on a cake whilst dangling my testicles and my penis for the whole world to see? What else? Apparently there was one where he took his blow-up doll for a date, pretending it was Jackie. Why did... You see, ladies and gentlemen, if I had a girlfriend and she asked me to do that, I would absolutely go. I would go as far away as physically possible, because no, that's just not on. Why would somebody want me to film, or just if you want porn, freaking go to Pornhub and watch stuff there? I am not. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually going to say this. Look at me, guys. I am not a porn star. Even if I had, and I only got my hair cut for the first time in nearly 6 months, only this morning. Even if I got this whole shaved and I suddenly changed my name to Johnny Sins, I would not be a porn star. Absolutely no way. So listen, if you want porn, you freaking come to the wrong platform, pal. You're better off going somewhere else. Now, whilst I mention that, and I'd say that's a pretty important thing to bring up already, but there's other things I want to discuss as well. Why can somebody help me to explain this? Because Chris even says, what the hell am I doing? Chris has to be in some way self-aware that this is weird. In fact, because, well, you know what? It's strange that only in this part did he actually say straight up that he thought that, what am I doing this for exactly? I think there was even a point in another video, the one where he's in the changing room, where he goes, oh, the things I do for love. But you know what, Chris, I'm going to level with you. This is not love. It's straight up trolling. And it shows, well, you know, what's the old saying again? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me, goodness knows how many times, you're probably Chris Chan, because no matter how many times people have tried to warn you, everything else, you've took it upon yourself to not listen, surround yourself by nothing but people who tell you exactly what you want to hear, and you're somewhat surprised that this is how the way your life has turned out. It's starting to occur to me that a lot of the problems that I would say Chris has when he's, people make demands of him, is that you have to have something to bargain with Chris with in order to make something. And, You can't necessarily go in head first. As far as we can tell from Jackie, and Jackie is a troll 100%, no friggin' woman alive, sane or rational, would take advantage of somebody like Chris. And I say take advantage because, well, what else can you call that? And again, you can't even look. Here's the thing: you can't even look at this as revenge porn on Jackie's side either, because she leaked the information anyway, but she didn't try and haggle or bargain with Chris anything. Blue Spike probably would have done something like this. He would have got Chris to make the footage, and then, in fact, technically he already did. But he would have taken all this information and literally just bargained with Chris to do whatever the hell he wanted. Although, again, why Blue Spike never thought about going to the police if he was really that concerned about the fact that Chris was molesting somebody claiming to be 13, I will leave up for you to decide. Now, strange as well, because I don't even know where exactly I'm meant to go with this. I don't exactly know what to think. I don't exactly know what I'm supposed to feel. Okay, I'll tell you what I feel exactly out of this whole ordeal, as it were. I feel like there was no reason. Chris was not bullied. He was not evoked in any which way to be forced to do this. The only reason Chris did this is that a girl on the internet asked him to. Christian did as he was told. In return, that in the vaguest belief that Jackie is going to have sex with Chris, and that he'll lose his virginity, and Jackie will be his sweetheart forever. Again, maybe this just says more about Chris's standards as far as women are concerned, when he will just bend over backwards and literally rip his own dick off with the very skin of his teeth if he could. Because, again, any sane or rational person would have straight up looked at this and said to themselves, no, absolutely no way. Why do I have to do this stuff for you? I've never even met you in person. There are other problems as well I kind of want to discuss, and technically I could go about this for a whole hour, so I might just... God, where on earth do we go next? Well, yeah, technically there's another thing I do feel as if, I feel as if, Chris does... It's not a case of Chris not having problems with his self-esteem, because at times he's more than motivated to do really heinous, insane things, just because he was told one way or another, so I don't particularly think he's got a problem with that in that aspect. I mean, he made the video. He made almost pretty much every single video that he was told to make. Because you know what, I'll use this as an example. The one about... In fact, I'll tell you what, I've got a better idea. Just to give you an idea, let me give you a bit more clues then, shall we? Let's see. About what I mean about self-esteem. Let's see if I can find one. Oh, the last call was actually an hour and 30 minutes. That's pretty interesting, I guess. I'll just let you know if I can find it at all. It's... Let's see. It's probably most likely that I'm not going to be able to find it, but oh god, there's a video of Jacob Socklist. Oh my god. That might be... I might even just friggin' put that on just to cheer us up out of all of this, because I feel dead inside through the majority of this. Okay, right. I can't technically find here, but I'm going to technically paraphrase what happened, basically, with the video of him, dancing in the aisle well, him dancing in the change room. The actual request was for Chris to dance in a shopping aisle whilst throwing glitter in the air and basically pulling up his skirt and flashing his arse cheek to the camera. Now, obviously, if he did this in the aisle, the police would have been just like that. So Chris thought that the best thing he could do was to go into a changing aisle into a changing room and do it there. So let's think about it like that. Chris knew for a fact that if he did it in the aisles, he was going to get caught and he was probably going to get arrested because that sort of shit is gonna attract so much attention. So Chris had the sense to avoid getting arrested by doing the dance in a stall. So if he's got the sense to realize that Jackie's demands could legally get him in very serious trouble, then why did he think it was a good idea to make a video about him farting on a cake and thinking that apparently this was not going to get into trouble either? Now, again, it's so messed up because I don't understand what Chris's logic is in all of this. I don't understand. Well, one, I can understand why he made the video because he was asked to and that he was promised sex, which you can work out for yourself how well that is going to go down. So we've covered that sort of basis. However, what we haven't covered yet is the fact that when he made the video, why did he not just delete it immediately? Because he says, "What the hell am I doing?" And he says that, but he almost seems to acknowledge he doesn't acknowledge the fact that he could have made something incredibly incriminating and something that some people would have found absolutely sick. But he doesn't say anything like that. He shows more remorse for the fact that he paid $10 for the cake that he just sat on. So your guess is as good as mine as to whether or not Chris actually learns or knows anything from any experiences had, because he seems to just like shrug everything off and he sent the video off anyway. And again, I think I've discussed everything I can at length regarding revenge porn. Well, technically, there's only one thing I haven't technically covered in the revenge porn aspect. And that's, well, sadly this part. Is that if you can technically call this porn or not. Or whether or not you can technically call this abuse or not. Now, technically, call it most things that go against Chris when you're talking about abuse is that could be abuse of his trust, abuse of somebody who is very highly up there on the autism spectrum. You could also be looking at, so it's possibly abusing somebody who has disabilities, and I would know fine well about that because listen, if my diagnosis with autism was higher than what it actually is, I would probably have received stuff like disability benefits and stuff like that. Now, so yeah, but again, you have to realize is that because Chris never took the thing about the Julie incident towards the police. In fact, nobody went to the police at all about this because everybody would have been in the loop and everybody would have been called into question. Mostly about questions about Chris's offences regarding Mary Lee Walsh, including Michael Snyder, everybody he was rude at and interfered with at the game place. But let's look at it in this sort of light. The light exclusively to the Cakefarts video. Is that, one, obviously, yes, they're both of consent, i.e. so you can't call this rape of a child or inciting conspiracy to distribute child pornography as a means of revenge. Technically, Jackie, or whoever the person was behind the Jackie persona, cannot be held accountable for that. They can, however, be held accountable for Actually, no, they couldn't even be held accountable for blackmail either because they've got no shit on Chris as to make this. So you can't look at this as, you know, like abuse, like child abuse, because, you know, even though technically Chris is, many people would still call it a child or because he's never lost his virginity at 29. You could also look at, there's lots of technical boundaries about this, because listen, let me if this was either my son or my daughter who was doing this because somebody asked them to, I would have friggin' called up every police station in the world to get whoever told them to do this behind jail, behind bars, because I have reasons to believe that Jackie always knew. That's what like a lot of the trolls do, is that they have extensive knowledge on Chris. They know exactly that he falls for the similar old tricks over again, but they make enough original stuff to basically intervene and to show, to make Chris do all these ridiculous shenanigans. All this time, I'm trying to think of something. Oh yeah, that's right. There's also just one more thing I wanted to mention, is that you have to wonder, and I really do wonder about this, because as much as I apprehend Chris for some of the things he says and some of the things he does that are quite hard to forgive in most cases, there's just something about all of this, between Jackie telling Chris to suggesting this concept for a video like this in the first place, to Chris willy-nilly just going through with this almost at the drop of a hat. There's the fact that Chris went out and just did this almost without questioning either. The fact that he even questioned himself very nearly the end of this, but then he changed his tune. It's all of this suggests one thing and almost one thing only, is that Chris is just doing this for the sake of doing this. He has absolutely no concept of the idea that you could aim higher than this, that there are women out there who will not force men to make incriminating and embarrassing videos like this. There are people out there in this world who will not do this. But unfortunately, there are people in this world who will do this, and it seems as if if part 34 was anything to go by, Chris would rather hang himself around people who apparently he says how he can trust people just over the internet is something I've never really understood. It's just, if Chris claimed that he learned and he knows as much as he does, then I would say about the end of 2009, there would be none of this stuff. There would be no videos about Chris painting his torso. There'd be no videos about him asking for, the game place to burn down or for Mary Lee Walsh to get fired. There'd be no Cakefarts videos whatsoever. And there'll be probably no dimensional merge. All of this was just stockpiling until eventually there was enough that you could give other people numerous ideas to make Chris's life hell. Because yes, and even though I don't particularly like or care that much for Chris, irregardless of the rights or wrongs on some of these matters, you have to wonder seriously whether or not Chris is either just doing this for attention, whether he's legitimately serious in thinking that he's going to get that Jackie is just going to come to him with open arms, or, and this is the very serious one you have to look out for as well, whether or not Chris has just almost got nothing left to lose, and he thinks that a woman of Jackie's standing, almost at that same level of irrespectability, is almost the same thing. This is almost like one of the biggest things. Like, I've often said there are like 4 major factors that contribute to Chris's life as it is now. The second point, it seems so much smaller at first, but I do agree it's a very, very good second, is that Chris is almost in his search for a sweetheart, he has almost completely cut himself contact with women. Now, this is a point that technically needs a lot of elaborating. Women are cut away from Chris in the first place because even though Chris is not homeless or anything like that, there are very, very few people at Chris's level of society. And women will never or hardly ever condone or descend to that level of society themselves, especially because, well, you know, there's always things like, you know, another husband or a house or a job they can cling on to the very last, and it basically means is that basically women, or any woman of any standing, will be miles away from Chris's reach, from his villainously grubby mitts, you almost want to say. So that basically means that even at Chris's level, any woman that is somewhat in his level, or even a very little above his level, is about as far out of his reach as the moon. Not just because of Chris's ideas, but the fact that his ideas are documented, along with goodness knows how many videos, and not just on the Wikipedia, the videos I've made for this channel as well. It's all there in black and white and very, very distilled, ugly looking yellows, like in this video, for example. So basically, at 38 years old, Chris's relationship with women is pretty much as follows as this point onwards. He is essentially going to be a celibate from this point onwards. He has absolutely no chance of getting a girlfriend, a wife, a fiancée, a mistress, a daughter, and just like with Mia Hamm, the closest he's probably ever going to get is when he scrounges enough and begs for enough money online to basically scrounge up just enough to afford a prostitute. And I gotta tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, male or female, that level, when you get to that point in your life where any woman you think who is even as low as you is still far out of your reach, no amount of damage will do any more to a person's self-respect. Being Chris's situation where he's cut off from society because of his actions and the fact that his behavior in the past has been catalogued, and that other people will harangue and harass others that he's trying to get in contact with. Yes, that's the sort of thing you would absolutely expect to happen. What a lot of people don't really expect to happen is that could literally be Chris's last chance at communicating at all with the outside world. And I think there was like one more point I just needed to make about that, is that, well, what good do you think it will do to anybody's mental well-being when they are suddenly presented with the idea that they are unfit for marriage or unfit for any relationship whatsoever? Now, of course, there are plenty of ways to prove that you are actually fit and responsible for a serious relationship. But when you present somebody with a history like this, even somebody, the sort of things that Chris does all throughout his life, I'm talking about Chris specifically, not the things the trolls have done, specifically the things Chris has done himself that he is 100% accountable for. It would try the patience of a saint, but I don't even think saints have that much patience and that much tolerance for people like Chris. It's sad, and it's a very serious problem, but you know what? He made the video. You have to live with the consequences. Sometimes, again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it off with this. Sometimes in life, there is no such thing as good or bad. There is only consequences. Good or bad or indifferent, you just have to wait and see. You have to see and wait for how things pan out. And even if you want to say the consequences about the Cakefarts video may not be necessarily as well known as some other things that people will find out first about Chris, this is a much a contributing factor, as it is with humping the body pillow and screaming Julie at the top of his voice, from screaming at Liquid Chris, from his father call or his complete ineptitude to look for work, to the dimensional merge philosophies, and well, that's just the tip of the iceberg, but there's certainly more out there. And the sonic boom gate that I mentioned, that I brought up before. So now that that's sort of like all out of the way, and that went far longer than I thought it possibly ever could, I hope you guys have enjoyed Cakefarts for literally whatever the hell it was worth, and I hope to love you guys again in the next video. I just wanted to keep this separate because I knew I was going to be talking about this for hours in part 35 anyway, so